Welcome to HTM on the Line. I'm your host, Bryant Hawkins Sr. And today we're turning up the energy with not one, but two phenomenal guests. These two are more than just industry leaders. They're like family to me. And they bring unmatched passion and personality to everything they do. But I won't steal their thunder. I'll let them introduce themselves because their stories are what make this episode truly special. So, get ready to be inspired as we explore their journeys, insights, and the heartbeat behind their podcast, Girls on Fire. Welcome to another episode of HTM on the Line. This week I have two special guests. I don't know if I should call them guests or should I call them family, but they're two of my favorite people in the industry. Let me let them introduce themselves to you. Who do I have on the show this morning? First, we'll go with Lil Sis.
Lil Sis here. I'm Kristen Register, and I am a part of the HTM jobs portion of MD Publishing, and B-Hawk is my big bro, so that's why he calls me Lil Sis.
And I am Megan. I am cousin Meg, old cousin Meg. You might have heard from me. And I work for MD Publishing as well. And I'm with Technation and ICE. So I kind of do a little bit of everything on that end with advertising and marketing sales. And then Kristen and I are Girls on Fire together.
I was wondering if somebody was going to mention that part there, but yes, you guys wear many hats, but I want the Girls on Fire today. We know about ICE, HTM jobs, but this one here is about the Girls on Fire podcast. I'm going to dig into this podcast and find what brought this podcast to life, how it's going. But first off, let's just get into it. What inspired you to create the Girls on Fire podcast? Anyone you can jump in it.
Kristen, we probably have to talk about first how it got started, if you don't mind, B-Hawk, because it's kind of a funny story. We were at the AHRA conference, which is an imaging conference, if you're not aware of what that is. And we go there and represent ICE Magazine, which is our imaging publication. And we were there with Jamie McKelvey, who is the director of sales of MD Publishing. And she was building out our she was building out our YouTube channels. And she needed some more content for Technation TV, which is our YouTube channel. And she looked at Kristen and I, and she was like, "You two, do a podcast." Like, she literally pointed at us and was like, "You two, do a podcast." And so that's kind of how it started. And we filmed a promo video there. And then I think the next week we went ahead and recorded our first podcast. So I don't think I'm missing anything, but that's kind of how the whole origin story of Girls on Fire started.
Did she cover it all pretty much, Kristen?
I don't know if it's because we had red hair or we're both really funny and amazing, but Jamie just decided that we were the perfect fit to start a podcast. And I agree. Like Megan said, we started immediately. We had to re-record the second episode twice. That was our only hiccup, but it's been pretty smooth sailing since.
Awesome, man. That's great. I mean, I enjoy it personally, but hey, I'm just being biased. Now, how has the journey been so far? You just made your year, in October, I think? You made your 1 year anniversary?
I believe in August was August. Our first 1 year. Yeah.
So how has the journey been, Kristen?
It's been honestly way more than I expected in terms of listeners and people that come up to us at the show. In my mind, it doesn't even feel like work. It's just an hour out of my month where I get to hop on and chat to Megan. And sometimes I even forget that we're doing a podcast for work because we're just having so much fun. But it's been a really fun journey. I feel like it almost is like a good inspirational boost for myself every time we do it. Like the topics that we discuss, we pick to share with the industry, but it also pertains to young professionals, or even when we have our guests on, just like hearing their perspective and having like a whole new breath of fresh air is exciting. So a year blows my mind, and we're about to come up on a year and a half, and I just don't even know how the time has passed because it hasn't even felt like work.
Yes, yes. What about you, Megan?
No, she literally said it all. Honestly, we have so much fun. Kristen and I don't really know exactly like we just connect super well. Like I don't know if it's the red hair or if we have just these vibes that mix. But honestly, I think that's what makes it so special. The podcast is that it's like talking to just one of your really good friends, and we're talking about important things, like things that for the young professionals, anything that has to do with the HTM industry. But we're never going to give you medical advice. I think I said that during our first podcast. I was like, you will never hear us say how to fix a piece of equipment because we literally have no idea. But it's just a really fun outlet, and it's really fun to see everybody at the conferences, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I listened to your podcast. We're like, what? No way. We didn't think anybody would listen to the podcast.
But one cool thing about what you guys are doing is you are humanizing the HTM industry with your laughter and your energy. Is showing that, look, we may do a job that's life-saving work and it's very serious, but y'all give it a human aspect, and that's one of the things I like about it the most. You're authentic. You guys are constantly laughing. I don't know, do y'all ever have bad days? Because it don't show on your podcast. I mean, it looks like y'all just
you don't even know, B-Hawk.
Well, that's the parts that we cut out. That's the beginning and the end. And then the middle is the sunshine. But if you can see my face right now, I'm smiling ear to ear. That's so nice for you to say that we're kind of the light in some people's dark days. That's really kind to hear.
Hey, that's facts. Now, the industry here, we talked about the healthcare technology management, HTM, biomed. How did you guys get started? I know you kind of mentioned it somewhat in the beginning, but how did you get started in the HTM industry? Let's go with you first, Megan.
So I started almost about 7 years ago. It'll be 7 years next March that I've been here. And I it's so crazy. I actually applied for a MedWrench marketing position. So I saw this marketing coordinator position. I interviewed with Kaylee McCaffrey. I'm sure a lot of you know Kaylee. She worked for us. She was the queen of MedWrench, honestly, for years. And then now she works for Avanti. But she and Jamie, they interviewed me. And then I had got an email back saying that they weren't interested in me for the MedWrench position, but they wanted me to apply for a sales position on the MD publishing side of things. So I went ahead and I was like, I don't know, like they didn't want me for that first position, but my mentor at the time was like, Megan, no, like this is a good thing. Maybe they saw something else. So I went and interviewed with Jamie again, I want to say, and Kristen Lavoie. And I went, and then I had my third interview with John Krieg, and that's kind of how I ended up there with just a sales executive position. And the funny thing is that Jamie always says that she stole me from MedWrench. So they saw something in me there, but they thought I'd be way more better on the sales and marketing side of things with MD Publishing. So that's kind of how I got started here.
Shout out to Katie McCaffrey. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. She is.
What about you, Kristen?
Well, mine's a little different than Megan. So I got into this industry about 4.5 years ago. I graduated college during COVID, which is the best time to look for a job. So I was kind of stuck in my small town in Georgia, and I'm actually family friends with the Krieg, Sean Krieg, who is the CEO founder of MD Publishing. I'd never met him, but my sister actually had been working with the company for a little while, and I was looking for something to do. And John said, bring her on part-time. She can help with some data entry stuff. We just need some help with this new venture called HTM Jobs. It had just been up about 2-3 months when I joined. And next thing I know, I'm going from data entry to making phone calls to making a sale my first 2 weeks there. And, next thing I know, John's like, you should probably stay and you're going to be a good salesperson and you're going to run this HTM Jobs branch. And I blinked and it's been 4.5 years. So it's been a crazy entry into it, an industry I'd never even heard of until this job, but really happy to be a part of it.
Oh, that's amazing. I forgot your sister did work for the company.
I know. I mean, time has flown, but yeah, so she likes to remind me every day that I'm here because of her.
Love Erin.
Well, you've made us forget about Erin. Shout out to you, Erin, also.
Yeah, I'll remind her of that next week when Megan's here.
Okay, now what has kept you guys passionate about the industry? I mean, you mentioned I know you don't do repairs. I know you don't do service calls, but what keeps you guys so passionate about it? Because your podcast, it shows you the love you have for this industry, and that's probably one of the reasons why you do the podcast. But how do you keep that passion going to do each episode?
I think it's Megan and I are both people. Like we just like feed off energy and like being around people. We obviously like to have our alone time, but when we go to these shows, like seeing people in person and making these connections and being a part of something that's way bigger than ourselves, I feel like personally is what keeps me passionate. Whether it's talking to one of our vendors that kind of is in a similar role and relating to them on that sense, or we're talking to biomeds where I have no idea what their day-to-day looks like outside of what they tell me. I'm just very passionate about hearing other people's stories and just like their everyday lives, because it makes me want to learn more and do more and like just get more information on how I can better the industry. And again, we know nothing about holding a wrench, but it's really fun to hear about it.
What about you, Meg?
I just adore the people of this industry. I had no idea what HTM was or what biomeds did in the hospital, and I came in here totally blind. So I feel like I really started to absolutely love what I did when I started going to conferences almost every single month, if it was either ours that we put on or a state association conference, whatever it was, and just meeting and talking to people. It's one of the things I tell people the most, that if you are a new person coming into this industry or a young professional, is just to listen to everybody's stories when you go to the shows or you're on the phone with somebody, or whatever the case might be. I just feel like that's how I've learned so much. And just from what I've learned from talking to these people, that is what I think has fueled my love for it. This podcast is a young professional podcast mainly, but we started our YP at MD, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit more later. And that is what I'm super passionate about, is just having a safe place where young professionals come and they feel like they have a friend, just to kind of get through the day-to-day or the struggles that we all probably go through just to try to make a name for ourselves in this industry or whatever they might do. So that is probably one of my biggest passions since I've come here, is, helping start that YP at MD program that we have at MD Publishing with the 40 under 40 and all of that, because there are some really incredible people that have helped me during my journey here. And I just appreciate that and want to highlight them so that they can keep thriving.
Yes. Yeah. I know you mentioned a lot of shows. You just got back from RSNA, correct?
Yes, I did. And that is one of the biggest shows.
Yeah, that's a huge one there. Now, I love the fact you mentioned about the YP and young people. And that's one of the benefits, I think, of you doing a podcast. You bring people on who can share their stories, and you don't know who that story is going to influence or motivate or encourage. So that's a great thing you're doing with the YP. And just for those who may not know, since you said we can just get into it right now. What is YP?
So YP is our Young Professionals at MD Expo group, we call, and we say at MD Expo because almost, I want to say since fall of 2019 at our Baltimore show, we had our first networking event. It was at Pickles Pub, and Kennedy and I talk about it all the time. Kennedy Craig, she and I kind of started the group together. And then obviously everybody that's a young professional at MD Publishing has helped build it. And we always talk about that first event and then how they have grown since then. So then almost at every other MD Expo, we try to throw one of the parties. And Prescott's, who it was Adepto and PileBio before they got acquired by Prescott's, they've always been a huge sponsor of ours for YP and MD. So we always appreciate their support. But just like I said earlier, it's a great place to network with young professionals in the HTM industry. And it's awesome because you kind of always have a friend whenever you go somewhere, which is nice, or a familiar face. So that's kind of the reason why we started it. It's just so there was like a support group for the young professionals in the HTM world.
I mean, that's great. I mean, I'm about to start an OP, old professionals, 40 and up.
And John Krieg is already ahead of you, and they sit outside the bar that we're at for our networking event and just wait for us to let them in.
Oh, okay. Man, I got to go join the crew. Yeah. Now, you talked about the young people. I think that's awesome. Now, also, you've been noticing a lot. I don't know if y'all noticed, but at the MD Expo in Connecticut, there was a lot of females at this show. I don't know if y'all went promoting to females more up Northeast, but there was a lot. I noticed a lot of females there. So what advice would you have for a young female who may be considering a career in the HTM industry, but feel it's a male-dominated field? I'll let you answer that, Kristen, because you deal with HTM jobs, so you may run into women that's trying to get into the industry. So what advice would you give a young woman?
Yeah, I agree with you. I noticed there was a huge female presence at Connecticut as well. I think a big part of it was Carol Davis Smith brought a lot of her UConn students. And I want to say like 25 out of the 27 were women. So that was so awesome to see, just even the new generation being female heavy. So the advice I would give is to just be confident in yourself. I think that's in any field, but specifically a male dominated field that's, I would say, on the technical side as well, where women are sometimes not necessarily listened to or respected. They have to gain that respect. I would say just be confident in yourself. It's okay to ask questions, but only you can really exude that confidence. So making sure that you go into every situation backing yourself is the best advice I can give, and just connect with people in this industry. Find a, female leader or mentor to kind of show you the ropes as well. There was a women in HTM panel at Connecticut, and B-Hawk, you were in there. You crashed that, but I'm just kidding. Anyone can go, but that was awesome to see 4 or 5 industry leaders that were all women. And they all said, connect with us. We want to help you through this, navigate, guide. So connect with someone that's been in the industry is always a great way to really help get started in your career.
Wait, was that supposed to be a women's only class?
No, anyone.
Oh, okay. Because there was only like 3 guys in there. So I'm about to say, well, I missed that memo, but it was a great class though. But
it was.
Now, like you said, on in Connecticut, you see like a shift happening with women being represented in the industry. Now, do you think, like you guys? Well, I'll just say I'll maybe say it this way instead of asking you. I think personally that the fact you guys are hosting a podcast and you both females, that to me is a light or a breath of fresh air for young females in this industry to see young women doing it, because we have mature hosts also. I don't want to say older. We have mature people that's also doing podcasts. Sherelle. But
we love Sherelle.
She is so young, for
Shout
real.
Out Sherelle. But I'm just saying, I think that's y'all give a good example of young females stepping in the forefront of this industry, because it's extremely male dominated. So I applaud you guys for that. But do you think that maybe, have you got any feedback from females in the HTM industry saying how they appreciate you guys' podcast?
I would say yes, we have. Some of the people in the Women in Leadership group, they have come and told us about how they loved that they listened to our podcast, and it's just one of them had said it was a breath of fresh air, which I really appreciate that, and I take that as a huge compliment because, like you said, Bihak, Kristen and I, we just are loud. We say everything. We're super genuine, but like we're just who we are. So that people want to actually listen to what we have to say, I truly do appreciate that. So definitely from them. I mean, we had Allison Wolford on. That was a great podcast episode. If you guys want to go listen to that on Technician TV, and she is a great example of a young professional who is doing amazing things in the HTM industry, and I feel like she has so much wisdom to learn from. So I feel like anybody should have her on their podcast who hasn't had her on yet.
Yeah, shout out to Allison Wolford. She has an excellent mentor, man. But yes, she's great. Also, let me ask you this question. Can you share, perhaps, I know you guys probably get a lot of people come on, like you mentioned, Allison. Can you share an amazing story you probably heard on Girls on Fire that you think can stand out to the both of you? Like, Kristen, you go first. What story you think one person you brought on the show who maybe shared something with you that stood out the most to you?
Ooh, that's tough. Well, I'm not going to choose anything you said because that's easy. I'm going to have to choose someone else. I guess since she was our most recent guest, the first person that comes to mind is Sherelle. The biggest thing that stands out to me is just like hearing someone's like background and how they got to where they are today. And we see these people all the time at shows and we connect with them on a professional level and a personal level, but we're always running around with our heads cut off sometimes. So to sit down and actually have like a full conversation with Sherelle and hear more about how she got to that point, how she used to be a police officer and worked in all different parts of law enforcement and things like that, it gives you a bigger picture of someone as a whole, which I just think is really special. And it just shows like their work ethic and everything like that. So that's the first thing that jumped out to me.
Okay. What about you, Megan?
Well, I'm just going to name, because we haven't had we just recently this year really started bringing on guests. So we had Sydney Krieg, who is Kristen's other counterpart for HTM Jobs. And then we had you, B-Hawk, and then Allison, and then John Krieg, our boss, and then we had Sherelle. So we only had 5, but I think the most, what I've gotten the most out of was having you and Allison on. One, because you guys are like actually in the hospitals doing the work, and we are on the other end where we're kind of just trying to be the we want to showcase you all, like we want to be the media partner, we want to put out all the great things you all are doing, we want to get all the information out to the community. So talking to you guys has been super helpful to me, and I'm sure Kristen, because we don't have a lot of knowledge on what's happening inside those careers. We only know kind of the outside, and just from talking to you on that end. So I think learning more about what you all do, the actual HTM professionals that we do all of this for, I think is super important. And I want to keep on with that next year with the podcast, because not only I feel like are we teaching everybody else listening from hearing from you guys, but I feel like Kristen and I are learning a lot too.
Now, there's also another segment on the podcast where you guys break down different segments, and in a sense, you start storytelling. Honestly, when you share experiences, like I think, oh man, I don't want to quote it wrong, but it's like one of your what's it called, guys?
Moments of joy.
Yes, and those moments of joy, that's like you're sharing a story. It's once again humanizing the HTM industry, because your moment of joy might not necessarily be about the industry, but it's a moment of joy. So what brought upon that segment of the show? How y'all came into wanting to put something like that in your show?
I think, Kristen, I came to you about it. I was like, right? Didn't I come to you about it?
Yes, I know for a fact I didn't think of it.
Okay. Okay. I was like, I can't remember because we've done it for a while now. I had heard somewhere, and I don't remember exactly where, something on social media, and it was somebody talking about how they think of moments of joy. And it could be like the silliest little thing where, like, I always talk about John Krieg makes fun of me. I always talk about the lady at the Starbucks drive-through because she always is so sweet and it's early in the morning. And it just starts my day out so happy. So we say things like that, or it could be like, oh, like we took an amazing trip with with our mom, or whatever the case is. It could be really anything big or small, but I feel like we all get caught up in the day-to-day and craziness of life. And so we just want to start the podcast on a good positive note and talk about something, happy that we found in our day-to-day life.
See, what's so great about with that gives you guys a different lane from all the rest of the podcast. So that's what's awesome, because each podcast has something different to offer, and the fact you guys have that, and you have other segments too, that sets you apart, and if you don't know it, you probably will become like a trendsetter. You can probably start seeing other podcasts maybe not exactly using that mindset, but it's going to be a good trend, and it's a great trend, honestly. I would think as a compliment if you see it happening in other places, but that's what I love about it the most, because you talk about things other than HTM, and that, like I mentioned before, humanizes the industry. Now, guests, you mentioned you had 5 guests,
Yes.
3 females, 2 males, which I guess you would have more females, girls on fire. I mean, but how did you? Well, I could figure how you went about choosing me. What makes a person a perfect fit for Girls on Fire, in your opinion? Kristen, let's go with you this time. Megan talking enough.
Yeah.
I was going to say anyone with a pulse, but
literally anybody that wants to sit in the chair will take you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we've really tried to choose our guests based on like either something that's like happening or coming up, but we wanted to make sure to get a great variety. So having you on, we wanted to have you to kind of speak to the young professionals, to share your wisdom, and you're a great mentor and you have so many amazing things that you're doing. So highlighting that, and then having Allison on, who is a young professional, like Megan said, that's in the hospital and doing the day-to-day. That is what the HTM industry is looking for, and sharing her experience and her expertise. And then even just having Sherelle on, who can show a little bit more insight on the vendor side and someone that we connect with a lot at shows. I think just the perfect fit is anyone that's willing to come on, but has something that they want to share, whether it's the technical side, sales side. Just HTM is such a wide umbrella. I think the perfect fit is just anyone that wants to come on and share how they play a small part or a big part in the industry.
Right. You want to chime in on some of that, Megan, or she pretty much covers?
She covered it. Can't think of anything else I would say more.
Right. Now, let's shift gears a little bit here. What's the future like for you guys? Where do you see this podcast? I'm not going to say the 5-year moment. Where do you see your podcast at the end of 2025? Let's just look into the future right now. Where do you see it in 12 months?
I don't know. Bjork, where do you see us in 12 months?
Hopefully merch.
I got a laundry list for you, but no, what do you just think, like 12 months from today, where do you think your podcast is going to go? Or where would you like it to go?
I don't know, Kristen. We've actually never talked about this.
We truly have never talked about this. Okay, this is literally off the top of my head, so don't hold me to it. But Megan and I do see each other a decent bit throughout the year, whether that's work, travel, or personal. I think maybe what we could start doing is little, like, because it's already being put on YouTube, maybe little vlogs when we're together, so that people can, like you said, if we are hopefully this breath of fresh air and lightness to the community, just show you guys a little bit more about what we do either at our shows or other people's shows or just when we're together.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe also adding in, right now we're only doing 1 a month. So maybe we would do 2 a month. I know B-Hockey, you've told us about doing them more often. I think it is just that we want to put out good quality content. And so far we really have been. And I I don't know. If we're going to be doing more, we just want to make sure it's good.
One thing you can do, just me give a thought to you, maybe do 2 guests instead of 1 guest.
Oh, that is a good idea. Who wants it?
That way you
Who
can
wants
have,
to come on?
two guests, you can touch more. It could be the person that's been sponsoring your last few YPs. That'd be a great one to bring on. I'm just talking out loud.
Well, considering that they told me at the last YP event that they've never listened to our podcast, they have some work to do.
Yeah, Clint is one of my very good industry friends, and this guy doesn't even listen to our podcast.
You know how you get somebody to listen to your podcast? Bring them
Have
on
them
it.
on.
Absolutely. They will listen to it. They'll become your number 1 fan, and all of their family members will too. So you won't get Clint to listen to one, put him on it. And watch. And you can even make him do a commercial in between. You like to do skits. So y'all can have a break where he can come in there and do a commercial and go back to the show. Just thinking out loud.
No, that's perfect.
Now, let me see. I don't know if I want to ask future questions because y'all ain't thinking about the future.
Hey, we're just trying to get through the end of the year, B-Hawk.
Hey, we already there. I'm thinking of 2026 and y'all ain't on 2025 yet. So are there any big projects or ideas you guys are excited about maybe with Girls on Fire? I know one thing I think about. It just hit me while I'm talking to you guys. Maybe at one of the shows, y'all can have like a Girls on Fire podcast, like a little sidebar or something. At the YP event, maybe Girls on Fire, you can interview some people. That's a thought.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we always have these big hopes and dreams to get some good content at the shows, but then we're running around in every different direction doing a million things. So I think actually at the YP event would be perfect because we're already allocating time to be there and we can have a nice little beverage while we chat with some young professionals.
Yeah. No, I think the thing is that we just enjoy doing what we're doing right now. Normally, I am a very big thinking of the future type of person, but it is so funny that you really stumped me on. I have no idea what we're doing with Girls on Fire in the future.
But I'm thinking about the YP event because a lot of times people don't want to come on a podcast. So if you got like 50 people there and you just gave 30 seconds to a few, just talking about them, asking them what they love about it, that can probably be an episode, honestly.
You're not wrong.
And you can also be promoting your event. And it can be maybe not even an episode for Girls on Fire. It can be like a Girls on Fire on location. And that could be an episode between episodes.
Road trip.
And it could represent, somebody might want to know what the YP event really like. And they could see more than the pictures, just a thought. If you want me to come be your guest podcaster, I will. I get to get in the YP group too, huh?
I was about to say, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, me and Krieg, we can come in together, huh? But I mean, hey, that's just thoughts. If you had to say, what is the favorite part about working with Megan and Kristen? Megan working with Kristen working with Megan. What is the favorite thing you love about working with each other? And you can't say laughing.
No. Well, okay. So she does HTM jobs. I do technician on that side of things. And so we don't really technically our day-to-day is not working together. Girls on Fire has brought us, I would say, closer, right, Kristen?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So we were really good friends before and had a great connection, but I think we've grown even more from doing the podcast and having to plan out guests and talking about what we're going to talk about and that sort of thing. And it's just fun. It doesn't feel like work. And that's what I enjoy so much with working with Kristen is that we just have so much fun. Of course, like you said, we laugh the whole freaking time, but we just have a great connection. You can tell it's genuine. And I don't know, Kristen's one of my really good friends. I love her a lot.
Oh, Megan, I love you too. I was going to say the same thing. It really is Megan and I have been close since I feel like the day that I started, but we're in separate offices. I don't know if we mentioned that. I'm in Nashville and Megan's in Atlanta. So we don't see each other every day. We really only see each other at shows or if we schedule something outside of it. Like Megan's coming early next week so she can stay with me an extra night and we can go to dinner and hang out with some people up here. So it's just stuff like that. It's really hard sometimes, I think, to make friends in work environments, and having someone that feels like a genuine friend over a coworker is really special. And that's what I love the most. But how you're saying we're happy all the time, the beginning of our podcast, we vent to each other. The end of our podcast, we catch up about what's ahead for our next few weeks before we see each other again. So we really do have such great like conversations before and after doing the podcast that we probably wouldn't have if we weren't doing it. So I'm really, really thankful that Jamie looked at us and said, redheads, do this. And it worked out.
Yep. I mean, hey, great. Now, one thing I just noticed when I was thinking the questions to ask you guys, how come y'all don't have a theme song?
I don't know. I don't know what I feel like we would have that one, the Pitbull song, you know, Fireball. Like I feel like
Dun, 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 dun.
yeah.
Fireball is great. You know what else I thought about? And it has nothing to do with fire, just how I feel sometimes. And how, if anyone were to hear our side conversations, they would say our theme song is Young, Dumb, and Broke.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna work on y'all theme song. We're gonna get you. I'm gonna get y'all a theme song. You know, it's gonna be pretty fire too. No pun intended.
Love it.
Now, what piece of advice? Because I think personally, and this might be a stump question or may not be. We know we have a lot of podcasts out there in our industry right now. I think we got 4 or 5. What piece of advice could you give to the other ones that have podcasts?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think for me personally, the only advice I would have is just have fun with it and don't worry about how you look or how you sound and planning everything out so methodically. Like just be your authentic, genuine self. Even like you said, B-Hawk, like, and I think this goes for you too. Like you can just feel when someone's genuine, when they're passionate, when they're happy. Like you can feel someone's emotions based on how genuine they are. And I think Megan and I, no matter if we're having a bad day or a good day, we always just come on and we tell you guys exactly how we feel. And when we're feeling burnt out, when we're feeling motivated, and just like sharing that part of, you know, your everyday with your audience, I think is just like the best way to engage your listeners and get more followers.
Right. Megan, you want to jump on that question or?
No, she pretty much said it. Honestly, I would just say, I feel like a lot of the podcasts in the industry, you know, they're kind of like interviewing people and that sort of layout. And I think maybe like I don't know if you told us to do this, Hawk. I can't remember, but like we do have segments. So like we have our moments of joy, then we have the hot topic, which is either we're talking to our guest or whatever topic Kristen and I want to talk about, you know, in the young professional sphere. And then we do, if we have guests, we do like a rapid fire. So I think that like helps a lot, especially with staying on some kind of outline for the podcast. So I would recommend doing that. I really like having segments because it does keep it kind of fresh and like I feel like you can see people's personality a little bit more if they do something like that.
And we typically go off the rails if not.
Off the rails all the time.
And I guess maybe you guys probably are great at that part of it because you're not overthinking it. Because like you mentioned before, you guys are not actually working in the hospitals. So you're coming at it from a different perspective. And a lot of times we don't see that perspective because we're looking at it from the hospital mindset, how we can do things this way, that way. But the way you guys do it, it gives, like I say, it humanizes because a lot of biomeds are introverts. They may laugh, but they probably laugh at home, but you make it fun to laugh out loud. And that's a cool thing, I think, personally. And I would tell you to continue to be your authentic self And it's been working so far. And I think it's going to work even more in the future. Now, in closing, if you can leave your listeners, mine also, one key message about Girls on Fire, what would it be? Megan, you go first.
One key thing, if they
One message that the reason for what y'all do, you can leave your listeners that this is what you're going to get when you listen to Girls on Fire.
We do this to just bring some more fun to the industry, which is what we've been talking about, I feel like, this whole time, that we don't take ourselves too seriously. Like Kristen said, we just are our authentic, genuine self. You take us for whatever we bring that day. We go off the rails. We say what we're feeling. We're not hiding anything. And I think when you show that to people, just who exactly you are, that will make you stand out in really great ways. So I hope everybody can just do that.
Kristen, your thought?
Yes, I agree. At our MD Expo in Connecticut, we kind of wrote out little thank you cards for attendees and just left them all around to let people know that we're, thankful for the hard work they do and for attending. And our videographer, Haley, thought she was, writing something so profound on every single note card. And she wrote, "You are why we do what we do." And that is something I say in my head all the time because I think it's funny that she wrote that. But also when you really break it down, when people come up to us and tell us that they've really enjoyed the podcast, or even when they get as specific as, "Oh, I really liked on episode 6, how you guys were talking about burnout and how they're actually listening." It really brings a lot of joy to me. So one key message is just keep listening, and hopefully that we can keep bringing you guys joy, because having all the feedback brings us joy.
Great answer. Now, last question. It just popped in my head listening to that. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'm going to tell them what this world will be like. There was this podcast, Girls on Fire. What would you want that legacy to look like?
Ooh, that's hard. Hopefully, I think our legacy would just be hopefully to be an inspiration, not only to young professionals, but to women, but to anyone that feels like they might not know exactly what this industry looks like. Our legacy is to be inclusive. We want people to be able to have a safe space to speak freely and ask questions and laugh and just have fun. We know that it's a very demanding job, and sometimes we hear that technicians sometimes don't feel seen in their hospital. And we want to make sure that everyone feels seen and heard and can just always have a good time and, enjoy each other and our young professionals group.
Yeah, just go for it. I mean, look at Kristen and I. We did not think that people were going to listen to this at all. We thought we were just going to be talking to ourselves most of the time. So that people actually listen and think this is a value for the HTM industry. And we just had this random idea. Nobody else is doing anything like Kristen and I are. And look at it. People really like it. So they'll just go out there, put yourself out there. And we hope that people that listen to our podcast just do whatever makes them happy.
Hey, well said. Look, man, I enjoyed you coming on the show, Kristen, Megan. You guys are killing it, and I'll do whatever I can to help you guys. Whatever you need, you can call on me. But I appreciate you. You're welcome to come back anytime you want. There's an open invitation for you, and I appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks, B-Hawk. We love you.
I know. Thanks, B-Hawk. You are why we do what we do, truly. B-Hawk was our first call when we started doing this, and he gave us great notes and reflections and feedback, and we really appreciate that. I really don't think we'd be where we are without your insight into this world of podcasting. So don't forget it.
Thank you, guys. That's a wrap for this episode of HTM on the Line. A huge thank you to my amazing guests, Kristen and Megan, for bringing their energy, insights, and authentic passion to the show. They're proving every day that the HTM industry is about more than just work. It's about community, connection, and growth. If you loved hearing from them, you'll definitely want to tune in to their podcast, Girls on Fire. You can find it on YouTube at Tech Nation TV for more of their engaging stories and perspectives. This is also the final episode of Season 2. Thank you to all our listeners for your continued support and encouragement. HTM on the Line will be back with Season 3, premiering January 14, 2025, with even more incredible guests, inspiring stories, and exciting new segments. A lot of great things are in store for the new season, so stay tuned. Until then, stay motivated, stay passionate, and keep making a difference. See you on the line.